Aloha! Sorry for the interruption of the 5th series of our podcast. Welcome to Legends, a limited number of episodes featuring iconic surfers, shaper of our surf history. We hope you're going to enjoy them. I have to say it was a true honor for me to interview them. Aloha! Welcome to the 10th episode of our Temples of the Podcast Legends series. Today with us, legendary photographer Joni Sternbach. We discuss with her about photography, surf photography, and much more. Hello, Mrs. Joni. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
Hello. I like to be referred to as Ms., and I am in Brooklyn, New York.
Fantastic. So it's morning over there, and how is life today in New York? People can just live their life, or is still a lot of coronavirus restriction?
The restrictions are, always kind of changing. Right now, I feel like New York is back to its very difficult place in terms of interactions with other humans. Okay. People are rude again. People are pushing and shoving, and there's so much traffic because people are not on the subways as much. I feel like New York is really intense again. When it kind of went into everybody in their own home, we congregated in neighborhoods and cheered for the frontline workers. And now I feel like it's everybody just trying to get their thing. So I think things are tough. Restrictions, they change now. You can go inside a restaurant if you have proof of vaccination. Before, you just had to say you had proof, you were vaccinated. So things indoors now are getting a little more stringent, which thank God. I don't know why they weren't that way to begin with, and people are worried because the Delta variant and breakthrough cases are here. And I know people who are vaccinated who are sick, or have gotten sick. And so it's really hard because my son just had a baby and his wife, and they don't really they don't really want me to touch the baby unless I'm wearing a mask and washed. And it's really hard to be in this place where you don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah, it's a bit tough everywhere, and it's a new life we have to live, and a lot of things that we have to deal with in a different way. So, but anyway, congratulations, becoming grandmother. And it's one of the best thing ever. So as long as family is united and you stay closer together, that's the most important thing. Today we're going to talk about not New York. Maybe New York, but not like New York time of coronavirus. We're going to talk more about surf and surf photography. So the first question that I would like to ask you today is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
Well, that's, I was really thinking about this question before our conversation today. So, it's interesting for me because my perspective is very different than surfers' perspectives, because I am not a surfer, but I have immersed myself in the surfing world. So for me, what I think is the most important thing in surfing is the surfer's connection to the water and the surfer being in the water. And to me, that is why I am making the pictures I'm making, because this connection with nature is the most important thing. And for me, every surfer is an environmental activist as they protect the waters around them. So may not be true, but
yeah, in fact, not all the surfers are protecting the environment as we think, as we should, as we could. Nevertheless, yes, the connection with such an element as water is so important, and is good that you are able to capture this through a lens, because it's how do you call it? It's not straight, right? Like the fact that you can connect the people, the water, and the lens at the same time, right? So from making a portrait or making a good photo or making art out of it. So, you are, of course, one of the most prominent surf photographer in the world. So, but have you ever surfed? I mean, have you ever?
I have. I've had a couple of surf lessons, and I have to say they were both like, wow, like just it surfing, like having a wave push you onto the shore is probably one of the most exciting and incredible feelings I've ever had in my life. I had my first surf lesson in Australia.
Wow.
I don't know if you know Lauren Hill. She is a surfer, a writer, an intelligent woman. And I was in Byron Bay when she was there. I think she's still there. And she said, "Oh, have you ever had a surf lesson?" And I said, "No, I've been shooting surfers, photographing them for 5 years. Nobody has ever offered me a lesson." She said, "I want to give you a lesson." So then I started avoiding her.
Okay. That's
But then one day, it's like a hot day. I'm shooting. I have my bathing suit on. I jump in the water, and there she is. She said, "Get on my board." And she pushed me into my first wave. And wow, it was fantastic. I wasn't able to stand up. She has, a very sophisticated board. And I am, as we know, not a sophisticated surfer. So that was my first lesson. My second one was in Hawaii, in Honolulu, with Diamond Head behind me. I got pushed into a wave and stood up, and there's a photograph of me surfing in Waikiki, and it was fantastic. I went out in one of those paddle canoes. What are they called? The outrigger canoes, and surfed in those with a group of people. It was probably the time of my life, I have to say.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, because you pictured a lot of surfers from all over the world, and having that experience yourself makes you understand even better, that connection with the ocean we were talking about.
Of course. I think if I lived somewhere where like Byron Bay or Waikiki, I would spend my time taking surf lessons. Here in New York, the tide goes out, you see all those rocks, you wonder, if I surfed here, I could kill myself. So it's just a little more challenging for the learner.
Yeah, definitely. Lauren was actually a guest of the show, so she's an amazing person, and like a water woman and environmentalist, and
yes, mother. Yeah, she is an amazing person. I could tell from the moment I met her.
Yes, definitely. I had the time to talk with her for the podcast, and definitely I agree with you.
I haven't listened to her podcast, but I will.
Thank you. That you tell me, how did it go?
Yes, I will.
Feedback. What do you find so interesting of surfers to have them like protagonists of your art?
Well, originally I wasn't really looking to photograph surfers. I was photographing the ocean, and I don't know if you know the story. It's like a really silly story, but like I'm out there on the bluffs of Montauk, high up on the hills in the middle of winter, photographing the ocean. Like, so when you have a large format camera and you're like pointing it down, you're looking at one little rectangle of, the entire, body of water that covers over 78% of the Earth's surface. So it is really a narrow view. And then one day, who is in my frame? Like this, like, it's foggy, spring is starting, and there are these people in the water in my frame. And I thought, what are they doing here? Get out of my picture. And so this took me a lot of time to realize that we were in the same place. We were in a shared environment. It wasn't like my little corner of the world. It was our corner, our universe. And so this realization is what made me feel that surfers were an important part of what I was doing in terms of learning to understand, like, what is the ocean? What is an emotional landscape? What is landscape? I was just trying to figure out a lot of things for myself. And for me, surfers, what they did was they grounded it in humanity as opposed to in a concept or in an art idea.
Okay. Yeah, I can see like you are looking for nature, and you find some other elements into this nature.
Culture. Yeah.
Interesting. And at that time, you were shooting you were shooting from far. You said like you had like a huge lens. What was that?
So the equipment hasn't changed a whole lot. I started out with an 8x10 camera, the same one I use today. Then I had a long lens to try and not include the horizon into the photograph. And then I had a reducing back on the back of my camera. So I was kind of trying to bring the ocean closer and then show a smaller part of it. So I had a 5x7 reducing back. So I was just trying to kind of work with first of all, work with the equipment I had, work with the elements, work with, height and distance and tide and weather to create these photographs that would not tell you, by looking at them where they were shot, which ocean it was. They were sort of anonymous oceanscapes in a way. And yeah, so that's what I was trying to do in the beginning. When I learned wet plate collodion, I went back to that very same spot where I had been shooting the ocean for years. And there, by chance, I met my first surfer and made my first surfer tintype. And because of that, I realized that this was what I needed to be doing. And I took my equipment off the bluffs. I went down to the surfing beach and I made first contact.
Wow. And what people, because you photograph, a lot of different character, a lot of also not normal people. What people tell you usually when you ask them, can I take a picture of you? Do they realize who they have in front, who's taking a picture? How does it work?
Well, in the beginning, I can't say I was very well liked. It took going to the same beach week after week, year after year to kind of gain some credibility. Yeah. So once that happened, people started coming to me. Like in the beginning, it was more of a novelty on the beach because each person who stands in front of the camera can come back to where I have my dark box. They can see their image process in the daylight. And so that's a very powerful tool to show subjects and to share with subjects. And because of that, more people became interested. And back then, anybody who would stand in front of my camera, I would photograph. Albeit there were more men that were interested than there were women.
Okay.
But then, I started to just talk to people and get to know them. And, the same people went to the beach all the time. It was very easy to kind of get to know people. And, I have such a setup that people were not afraid to come up to me and say, what are you doing? Are you testing the water? Or is this a puppet show? Where's the cappuccino? I've gotten a lot of questions. It's very humorous, but
easy to connect with the people.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. It wasn't until Byron Bay that I felt that the work helped to bring a community together. And that was interesting, really interesting.
I asked you at the beginning, of this interview, I asked you what was the most important thing in surfing. But what is the most important thing, in your opinion, in surf photography?
Surf photography? Well, first of all, I have to say I'm definitely not an expert on surf photography. And I know I'm considered a surf photographer, but I don't always see myself that way. So for me, like what I love best is what I could probably tell you is I love surf photography that talks about a time, a place, a culture, a moment. The pictures of people in barrels, they're great. I think they're amazing, but they're not so much what I'm interested in. I'm more interested in like how surf photography informs us about what is going on at a beach in a particular time. Like if you look at Leroy Granis's work at San Onofre, or you look at Don James's photographs from, San Onofre to Point Dume, all those pictures tell me so much about the world and the way surfing was at this particular time.
and as well how people connect to the water, as you said at the beginning, right? Because this is what
Right.
at least from my perspective, I see when I look at your photo. I see more than just a couple of people standing with a surfboard. I see the surfer, and I imagine what they have surfed and where they were coming from, and they. I get what you're saying. Like a barrel or just a wave or a beautiful photo, but maybe sometimes they don't tell more than that, more than what they show. I think the most successful photos of every kind are the ones that are telling more than just like what they portray, right?
Right.
So,
right.
I get your point. You were talking about Leroy Grannis, for instance, but who were your reference at the beginning when you started?
It's funny. My references are two artists whose work I admire to like this level. One is a photographer. His name is Richard Misrak. He is somebody he's from the West, and he is somebody who's explored landscape, the idea of landscape, division, terrain, water, all of these things in large format color photography. I'm crazy about his work. The other person is an artist. She does drawings, painting, sculpture. Her name is Via Selmans, and she lives in the United States, but I believe she is Latvian. I'm not sure, actually. Suddenly, I don't remember where exactly she's from, but she is an amazing artist who made these drawings of the ocean that were a huge inspiration for me.
Okay, great. Yeah, definitely. I will look at them tonight. I will try to get some more from these artists as well. I didn't know them, so I will study definitely.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one of your photos that is particularly meaningful for you, of course, all of them are so important and equally important, but one that has a special meaning. Or no?
Well, I just posted a photograph of Dave Drastivic the other day, and it had me think, like I met somebody from Byron Bay, this person. He's a young man now, but he was a kid when I was in Byron. And it just inspired me to think more about my trip there and the photographs I made. And one of the last tintypes I made, I was invited to Dave and Lauren's farm. And I started out like making some tintypes, and then like the humidity, the weather, I don't know, everything started to look like total crap. Like the pictures of Dave were blurry, they were fogged. I just was like, oh my God, like I've come all this way. This is my last shoot and it's shit. And I was like going into like, oh my God, panic mode.
Yeah.
And I took out this antique brass lens and I switched the lens on the camera. And because I was getting so much movement from Dave when he was standing, I sat him down and I put on this Petzval lens and I made this portrait of him that like really seems to capture who he is. There's like, he is still and his eyes are focused, but around him is this swirling bouquet that comes from the lens. And it just helped really inform the photograph. The photograph isn't fogged. And it was like, oh yes, I got one picture. Like that's amazing. And so that was a very special moment because also I was invited to their farm and, I was there to photograph them. And Lauren said to me something really interesting. She asked me, how do you feel about photographing on the farm as opposed to the beach? Because all your photographs are on the beach. And to be honest, I hadn't even thought about it, even though I was there. And I was thrilled to take this to like some other level. But it made me realize what a special moment it was because I had turned into a different direction. You know what I mean? I turned sort of landwise. And it also helped to inform photographs that I made, down the line and over time, photographing the Western landscape and surfers and cowboys and to like what is going on with surfing all over the place.
Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. And I'm glad that you got that amazing shot because it's truly amazing, amazing one.
Thank you.
And so, in your career, what was like the most important moment or a defining moment for you?
I think, like, because I'm best known for this work for the Surfland series, the most important moment for me was when I received notification that I was having a museum exhibit.
Wow.
And so I had my first solo museum exhibit at the Peabody Essex Museum in 2009. And like, I don't know if I was ready for it, but there it was. And I had just had my first monograph published. So I had like a catalog to go with the museum exhibition. And it was a defining moment in my career. The curator, Philip Prodger, really supported the work, and he helped to bring it all to that place.
Wow. Congratulations. Let's go back to the surfers. You met a lot of surfers from famous one to not famous one, just on the beach. Was there a meeting with one of them that was particularly important for you or was special? Somebody that you met and you kept that moment together with you forever?
Well, there are so many, but one was when I arranged to photograph Skip Fry, and I drove down to San Diego, and I made some pictures of him, and like it was windy, like there's a lot of difficulty in photographing people with wet plate. Exposures are long and the wind is big and the wind moves the board, and it's hard to get sharp pictures. And he was just so patient and so willing to do whatever it took. And then I have this little book that I was given called Surfers I've Met and Liked. Okay. And I asked him to write something in this book, and what he just wrote in the full spirit of Aloha, Skip Fry. And I don't know, kind of makes me teary, if you know what I mean.
It's a legend, but he's also a legendary man, right?
Yeah.
It's actually, that makes people like surfers or legendary. Is the way they connect with people and the way they build a legacy that will be forever, right? And so many people, they're saying, I never had the opportunity to interview, but so many people around him, yes, I had the opportunity, and they always refer to him like a great man, a beautiful person, and I guess that makes the difference, right?
Yes, it totally does. And I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of like really great surfers. Somebody once told me, Joni, Joe or Pro? How come? I think I'm more comfortable with Joe than I am with Pro. Like I kind of have a little bit of like a star-studded fear sometimes. I don't know. Like when I was photographing Kelly Slater, it was hard photographing Kelly Slater. The first picture was phenomenal. He's with his girlfriend, and that was really easy. But him alone, it was harder.
Was it hard as well to be able to take photos of Skip Fry or no? How did it work? Because as much as celebrated by a lot of people, he's a very reserved person, right?
Yes, I had to go through his wife, and she helped to arrange it. We weren't all that happy with the photographs we made, and she wanted me to come back and redo them. So,
wow.
Yeah, I will. I haven't redone them yet. I haven't been back to San Diego with my camera. But I think somebody introduced me. It might have been this friend, Scott Davis, who introduced us when I was coming to San Diego for like a lecture. I think pretty sure he's the one. I can't remember now. It's so long ago.
So you said like from museum exhibitions to books, you keep yourself very, very busy. What's next? Are you preparing? I know you're preparing something, but I want to hear from you. What's next?
Well, during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to work on 2 books. The first one was Surfboard, which is done. The second one is a book of photographs from my early years as a photographer, 35 millimeter, black and white, New York City, the 1970s. It's called Kissing a Stranger. And it's going to be published with this new imprint called Dürer Editions, as an Albrecht Dürer.
Okay. Kissing a Stranger. Wow.
Good title, huh?
Yeah, amazing title. How did you come up with it?
So there's a poem also included in the book, written by me, and it's the first line of the poem.
Okay. Wow. Is there an advice, a suggestion that you would give to a young photographer, not necessarily surf photographer, but photographer in general? What would you advise?
That's a really good question. I was looking old photographs that I had made, and I was thinking, oh, why didn't you move to the left? Like I could see the whole contact sheet, the whole sort of segmentation of where I was photographing. My advice would be, look, pay attention, make photographs. I wish I had more when I look back.
Okay.
But so that's one piece of advice, like just make the pictures. That's number one. Number two is, no matter what your pictures look like, believe in yourself, because it all is coming from here. It's all coming from inside the heart, the brain. And if you don't believe in yourself, if you're looking for outside acknowledgement, you may fall short of your goal to be a photographer. And I think it's important to remember that if you're an artist, if you're a photographer, whatever it is you're doing, that you have to build yourself up. Don't look for others to do it for you.
Yeah, and in effect, this is a little bit the problem of today's society, where we're looking more
like
be appreciated by the others rather than to do and develop our own things, and then being appreciated because we develop our own things, right? And actually everything goes too fast, and I see what you mean, and I agree with you. This maybe also is impacting or affecting the true artists, right? Because there are so many, but the one that are making choices, the one that are true to themselves, are maybe less or disappearing. Do you agree with me if I say so?
I don't know if they're disappearing, or maybe they're just disappearing from our public view on social media. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who are making fantastic work that, don't have an Instagram account. I think two of the artists I mentioned today don't. I do, because, part of what I do is interactive. And I feel like social media showing work is interactive, and it helped me to get new subjects. You know what I mean? It helped propel my project, as opposed to somebody who is a painter in their studio. It's different. The world's changed, and, either you want to sort of join that element of it or not, whichever it is.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It should just be a conscious choice. Yeah.
I like the way you rephrase it. Yes, definitely. There are so many artists that they are not in social media, they're not in Instagram, and they do their own things. And I truly respect that in effect, not to be tempted by the fame, the quick fame, So
yeah,
I totally agree. Okay, we're gonna finish our interview with a short Q&A session, so question and answer. Please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
The best surf photo of all time.
Okay, I'm just going to say this one because it's in my brain. It's an Art Brewer photograph of a surfer looking out on a curling wave at Yokohama in Hawaii. Black and white.
Okay. I'll definitely look at that. Art Brewer, again, another legendary name in surf photography. The best camera that you ever used?
The best or the most? Okay, I'm going to just say my Deerdorf 8x10 view camera. Not the best camera, but my best camera.
That works. Personal question, your favorite song?
Oh gosh, my favorite song. God. Okay. I'm going to say Blue, Joni Mitchell.
Okay, that's great. Your favorite surf spot? Not as a surfer, but to take photo of surfers.
Well, it's home break versus, exoticism.
Mhm.
I think maybe I'm going to say The Pass, Byron Bay.
Okay. Byron Bay, of course, is an iconic surf spot for all of us. Favorite woman surfer of all time?
I'm going to say Linda Benson.
Okay. The last question is a little bit unusual. We ask everybody on the show, has nothing to do with surf or surf photography. I would like to know your best relationship advice.
Well, right now I need to get relationship advice, not give it. But what I will say is patience and love.
It applies also to surf photography or photography, right? Patience and love.
Yeah, like patience, and perseverance. I think those are the two.
Okay, yeah. I think if we all had more patience and if we had all perseverance as well, the world will be a much better place, independently from relationship or not, right? I think it's sure. Virtues that are very important for all life, for our life in every day. Cool. But I thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And
thank you, Alessandro.
To talk
Grazie.
to you soon. Prego. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!